Hi everyone and welcome to this episode of the Divine Diva, where my diva for today is Jen. Welcome, Jen.
Hello, and thank you very much for having me. I'm really delighted to be here to talk about the bonkersness of the divine spiritual journey and how it grabs us and where it takes us. It's one of my favorite topics, so I'm delighted to be here with you.
Yeah, and I would love to know a bit more about you. So if you would like to introduce yourself, who you are, what you do.
Sure. So I'm Jen Thomas, and my business is Revitalize Coaching. I am a trained coach and NLP practitioner, and that's my official qualifications. And I'm also a priestess of Goddess Isis, and I trained with her for 3 years before I started training other women. And this is a really beautiful, powerful way for women and the divine feminine to be embodied in terms of self-mastery and self-leadership. And this essentially is what I'm all about, is empowering women to take leadership of themselves and their lives, to look imposter syndrome in the eyes with love and take ownership of her or him or they, and to be able to stand in their true strength and power so that they can lead the way that they were always meant to.
And I would love to know, in your view, what qualities does a divine diva have?
What qualities does she have? Honesty, openness, unafraid to be vulnerable, so she is courageous. She is highly sensitive, and she is often neurodiverse. And she knows what it takes to walk a path of uniqueness.
I love that. Yes.
And all that it entails. So and she is always getting to know herself better. She knows the journey is never done.
Exactly. We both know that as well. I feel it.
Yeah.
And I would love to know, what was your journey like in discovering, well, your purpose, your gifts, your divinity?
Yeah, such a great question. So let me answer it succinctly. Messy as hell, just like everybody else is.
Yes.
So briefly, I've always been highly intuitive and spiritually connected, but not intentionally so. It wasn't anything that I particularly denied, but it was nothing that I embraced either.
Right.
And so I spent the first 20 years of my working life in corporate marketing, in a very masculine environment. It was in the video games industry, so very masculine energy to it all. And in 2015, I burnt out, and that was when my true spiritual awakening and the kick up the proverbial from the universe, that was to now work with my spiritual consciousness with intention, and embrace it fully. And so along my retraining as a coach and NLP practitioner, was parallel to that was my personal spiritual practice and awakening. And my soul purpose, I think, arrived without me seeking it, along the way. And I'm also a great believer, and I really want to reassure anybody listening to this, I personally don't believe in one sole purpose. it's like the holy grail and the endless quest, I think, and we can create so much pressure for ourselves
Mhm.
to find our soul purpose.
Right.
But ultimately, our purpose is to live a life of happiness and joy.
Mhm.
That's our purpose.
To
So
become
in
who we
terms
truly
of,
are meant to be.
yeah, exactly. Because when you're aligned with who you're meant to be, you're naturally in your dharma, your purpose, you're happy,
Mhm.
your right way of living.
Mhm.
And I think we can create so much pressure and confusion for ourselves by aligning soul purpose to career.
Right.
And the two, are mutually exclusive. You can have a soul purpose and a completely different career as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
And give ourselves permission to
Mm.
change our soul purpose. Let
Yeah.
it grow, let it morph, let it expand, let it
Yeah.
be what it wants to be.
Because you as a soul, as a person, expand constantly.
Yeah.
So of course your purpose shifts alongside with you, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And do you also believe in that quote that I hear quite often is like people with the brightest purpose also go through the darkest night of the soul?
I think that can be true. I think, but I, have also witnessed others who have the brightest, shiniest purpose and are living and embodying it who don't consider themselves to have had um, deep trauma to go
Mhm.
through. One of my peers, in fact, she describes her dark night of the soul in a previous life, which
Mm.
I find really interesting, really
Yeah.
interesting. And but she describes, this life as kind of easy breezy.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, right. But yes, I think it is very common
Mhm.
for, you know, trauma and heaviness and um, deep pain and hurt and grief and all of those
Yeah.
emotions, um, for us to have the courage to embrace our bright light,
Mhm.
because once we've journeyed through the absolute monstrosity of it all, then we're not frightened by the power that we find in our light.
Mm. And when did you find your connection to Isis?
When she arrived. So it was my memory of it. I think, there'd been probably lots of incidences and indications, but my clearest memory is of around about 5 years ago. She arrived in my meditation and literally fell into my body, and we became one during my meditation. And it was the scariest, most beautiful experience I have journeyed through in quite some time. Yeah, it
Mhm.
was a whole new level of surrender and acceptance.
Oh my God. And
Yeah.
what did she teach you thus far?
I mean, everything. Everything. So let's think about some highlights. She has taught me to embrace and accept my uniqueness on a human level,
Mhm.
not just, I think the spiritual level is easy, the
Mhm.
soul level is easy, but on a human level.
Right.
She has reminded me of my connection with nature and our ability as part of nature to communicate with nature.
Mhm.
And she has, above all else, taught me to drop my shields, drop my weapons, drop my defenses,
Mhm.
and embody the safety of openness and connection.
Mm. That's wonderful.
her voice to me says, the battle is neither won nor lost, it is done. The battle is neither won nor lost, it is just done.
Done. And that gives a sense of calm and peace, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because we recognize that we don't need to fight. We weren't born to fight.
Right.
And the greatest fight that we have is
Mm-hmm.
with
The inner
ourselves.
one.
Yeah.
I agree. And would you agree that, I mean, that's sometimes my personal experience as a very empathic but also high sensitive intuitive person, that sometimes you get a tendency to get lost in the 5D, let's call it that, when we're still here, we're here in the 3D. We're here in our human bodies, in our human lives.
Yeah.
And how do we stay grounded within that?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think, this is one of the key teachings that Goddess Isis gives me and reminds me of frequently, is that we are the connection between above and below.
Mm-hmm.
So, the metaphysical hermetic phrase of as above, so below
Mm-hmm.
cannot exist without us
Right.
and without our humanity, our
Mm-hmm.
humanness. So she teaches me that it is not about ascension and leaving our bodies. We've got that down pat. We know
Mm-hmm.
how to do that. It is about knowing that we are loved, supported, and held in stillness and in peace, so that we can become the container to be the conduit, bridge the gap between the
Right.
above and the below. And the
Yeah.
below, for me, being Gaia.
Right. Mother Earth. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, it is, yes, we receive our downloads and maybe we astral travel to receive those. Maybe,
Right.
we're in the quantum space, which is the best place to be. Um, but we can't live there and we can't exist there.
Exactly.
And so then it is about embodying and recognizing that we are channel and the
Oh,
container.
I saw something falling behind you.
Yeah, it's a card with the
Yeah.
number 6 written on it, which is, very symbolic of fertility and Mother Earth.
Wow. She's speaking to
Yeah.
us.
Right. Yeah, it is this. So she's saying to me it is this embodying creativity,
Mhm.
making the ethereal human and
Mm.
making it real and tangible and beautiful.
Mhm. And in your online space, you also mention a lot about self-trust and that full embodied peace. So I would love to know if you can dive a bit deeper into the essence of that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been quite the journey and a continued one, a
Mhm.
continued journey. Because it is through the burnout experience that I began to learn and become aware of the energy of fear
Mhm.
and how I had run my entire life from that energy without knowing it.
Right.
And indeed, most of humanity has
Mhm.
and continues to do. And so I began to learn to observe the thoughts and the behaviors and the feelings that felt chaotic, that felt anything but peaceful.
Mhm.
They felt busy and detached or disconnected. And so for me, it manifested as anxiety or at its worst, panic attacks. And tightness in the jaw, tightness in the neck and the shoulders, short temperedness, tiredness,
Mhm.
and I would refer to it as stress.
Right.
stress is a very big,
A broad
big,
term, yeah.
big area. You know, there's lots of aspects to it.
Hmm.
But what I noticed above all else was I used to call it the great unraveling. You know,
Hmm.
it's like you pull on that little thread.
Yeah. And, yeah. Yeah.
And that little thread that you're pulling on is self-doubt,
Hmm.
questioning, is this the right thing? Is this the right way? Should I? Shouldn't I? Ought I to be? All the question, just the endless questioning as the thread unravels
Right.
to such a point then that you start questioning who you are,
Hmm.
your purpose, your identity. Um, and from that place, certainly for me, I felt unstable.
Hmm.
And, you know, in the spiritual community and teachings, there was, you know, the take the leap of faith, you know, take one step and the universe will provide the
Right.
next two, three, four, five, 10.
Yeah, but if you can take that step.
Yeah, then you feel like you are launching into the abyss. And
Hmm.
if you're doing it from a place of fear, you
Right.
kind of are.
Yeah.
You know, the universe
Yeah.
is there trying to catch you,
Yeah.
but you're not listening, you're not connected, you're not
Yeah.
allowing yourself to be held.
Yeah.
So for me, it was the learning to find calm initially. But what I actually found was inner peace
Hmm.
and self trust arriving in unison.
Hmm.
And I recognized that I couldn't have one without the other.
Hmm. But it's
So
only when
then,
you actually find that peace to realize how not peaceful you were.
yeah, exactly, exactly. Think, you know, and I remember saying to a coach of mine a year or so ago, going, but I do all the things. I do the meditation. I do the time in nature. I practice yoga, probably not as often as I would like to, but I
Right.
practice yoga. I do the journaling. I read the oracle cards.
Yeah.
I'm doing all the things, all the things.
Yeah. I should be so enlightened and peaceful by now.
Right? Yeah. Why am I not yet living my dream life?
Right.
And yeah, and then it kind of, you know, hit me in between the eyes, as it often does,
Right.
that it wasn't about doing all the things, it
Right.
was being, just
Hmm.
being.
Yeah. And what does this embodied peace feel like to you now?
I mean, awesome. But it is, for me, it's still, and I think it always will be a work in progress
Hmm.
because I'm not trying to remove my humanity. I'm not trying to remove my ego or quieten her in any way. Actually, she now has a place on my spiritual board.
Hmm.
My ego voice has a seat at the table because I learned essentially she is in many parts my inner child, and there is
Hmm.
no way I
Yeah.
am
You
quietening
can't
her
delete
anymore.
that. Exactly. Yeah. And the ego is always here to protect us, right? To keep us safe in its
Yeah,
own way.
yeah. I think the difference is now that I listen to her, but I don't let her lead.
Right. Exactly. She's not at the forefront anymore.
Right, because she's the one, bless her, that is
Mhm.
frightened and fearful and
Yeah.
needs the armor, needs to hold the sword, needs the shield, and needs a
Mhm.
whole army with her in
Right.
order to lead.
Mm.
So, yeah, so I've given her permission to rest now.
Right. I did the same with my anxiety. A coach of mine said to me, you don't have to push away your anxiety. She's allowed to be there. Just accept the feeling as it comes, or the voice of anxiety as it comes, and just say, okay, you're here. Thank you for warning me for whatever
Yeah,
situation I'm going through, but you're not necessary right now.
right. Because in so doing, in that moment, and it is just seconds, you
Hmm.
reclaim your strength and power,
Yeah.
you know, because there's trying to push it away, trying
Yeah.
to send it away, trying to shush it.
Right. Yeah.
gives it the power over you,
Yeah.
gives anxiety the power over you, and
Mhm.
is leading in that way.
Yeah, because you think you're silencing it, but you're actually not really. Maybe for a second, but then it comes back stronger.
Right. Will you listen to me?
Yeah, exactly. It just wants to be heard. And when you give that
Yeah.
fear a voice or your inner child a voice,
Yeah.
you're like, okay, I hear you. I hear you. You're there. I appreciate you for being there, but you're not, like you said, you're not leading the show. I am.
Yeah. 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 Or we are.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
You know.
And I would love to dive a bit deeper into the topic because you had a TEDx talk as well. So
Yes.
I'd love to know what did you talk about and well, yeah, what was the main lesson from that talk?
So yeah, it's been, gosh, 7 years ago now, 7 years
Oh.
ago.
Mhm.
So I was still fairly fresh out of corporate and fairly early on in my business. I was 2.5 years in to my
Mhm.
business then as a coach. So, and if anybody wants to watch it, it's on YouTube. And the title of it is Putting Emotion Back in Business.
Mhm.
And love is the first word on my TEDx,
Mhm.
because what I what I try to embody and teach and lead with is embracing our emotions,
Mhm.
because not only is that where our intuition sits, our most powerful guide, but they're also, our emotions are wonderful indicators when we're starting to go, a bit off the path or out of our own alignment. Um, so, in my experience, this was the division of the feminine and the masculine in the working place, in our business. And I kept saying, this is partly why I chose to leave corporate, but I kept saying and feeling, this isn't right. This isn't right. Everything is focused on consumerism and money,
Mhm.
and nothing is focused on compassion, love, kindness. And surely, even before I'd embraced all the spiritual teachings, surely this is our greater strength, love,
Mhm.
kindness, and compassion. Surely, if a business is based in those values and focuses all of its energy
Mhm.
um, on that core, on that center, on that foundation, surely that is where success comes from.
Mhm.
Surely. And yet we sit in this permanent lower vibration masculine energy, not divine masculine, of focusing on numbers, measurement,
Mhm.
profit, and that as the only measurement of success.
Right.
And as a result, well, we have
We
the
know
world that we live in.
the world is our example.
The world is a reflection of our reality.
Hmm. But do you also feel or sense a shift happening in
Huge,
right?
huge, huge shift. Um, and especially this year, actually,
Mhm.
what I say to my community members and my clients, I think, we've been in training for this. I mean, we've been in training for this for
Mhm.
millennia, right? But
Yes, for lifetimes.
in
Yeah,
this lifetime, we've
right,
been in training for this for the last few years.
right.
I know many spiritual peers talk about, the great awakening of 2012,
Mm,
which was the beginning of my awakening too, actually.
right.
That's a whole other story. Uh,
Mhm.
me in a me in a sequoia tree in the redwood forests in the
Wonderful.
US in 2012. Yeah. Um, so yeah, we are. So when I say that the world is a reflection of our reality, look at the change in the world too.
Mhm.
Because whilst there is adversity, war, um, rage, outrage, injustice, we are seeing the equal and opposite also
Mhm.
when we choose to look for it and focus on it.
Right. Exactly.
And nature will always be, as we are a part of nature, always be for me the reflection of human consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
So when I spend time outside in the garden here, and I see an abundance of butterflies and ladybirds this year, and just this morning, I noticed in my meditation, my hands were tickling, you know, like when
Mm-hmm.
something's crawling on you. And as I opened my eyes, there were 3 or 4 teeny tiny little baby caterpillars.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, look at this energy here of
Mm-hmm.
transformation, of rebirth,
Mm-hmm.
of abundance, of newness, of new beginnings, and
Mm-hmm.
the ladybird bringing um, the reminder of safety and protection as well.
Mm-hmm. I love
Yeah.
that you mentioned that because my next question was actually a quote from you that says, "Nature taught me how to listen, and not with my ears or my mind, but with my whole being." So could you
Yeah,
dive a bit deeper into that?
absolutely. It was a key part of my awakening experience and coming home to myself.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I burnt out, what I knew above all else was that I didn't know what love was. I didn't I didn't love myself. I couldn't receive love. It was very difficult for me to give love, even though intellectually I knew I did, but I couldn't
Mm-hmm.
feel it. It wasn't safe for me to feel it. Um, and so I was on the journey of self-acceptance and self-love. I didn't know it at the time,
Mm-hmm.
but of course that's what I was doing. And so fresh out of corporate, still in highly anxious mode most of the time, and maybe only sleeping 2 hours a night, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and in a very deep depression, too. My promise to myself every day was to go for a walk in nature,
Mm-hmm.
whether that was for 5 minutes or 2 hours, you know,
Right.
I would go. And slowly, what I realized was that nature is the embodiment of unconditional love.
Mm-hmm.
Because as you walk in nature, sit with nature, spend time in nature, you realize you're accepted exactly as you are, whether you haven't washed your hair that day, maybe for
Right.
a few days, whether it was about that time that I stopped wearing makeup as
Mm-hmm.
well. Um, so nature was in absolutely no judgment whatsoever of what my skin did or didn't look like,
Right.
what my hair did or didn't look like. And I started to, I essentially started to, somebody referred to it as I was learning a new language, and now I know I was remembering an ancient language
Mm-hmm.
of nature communication. And I was communicating with the trees, the birds, the butterflies, the earth, the sky. And that's when I started to receive guidance.
Mm-hmm. And I
And
also
it,
think that like the seasons of nature can reflect the inner seasons that we experience as humans with
yeah,
our ups and downs. I've also had depression, anxiety, and I've
yeah,
you experience lots of highs and lows, but I
mhm,
think also nature and the seasons teach us how you can rebirth and regrow and let things go. Like, in the autumn, the leaves drop, and it's okay to have bare branches and retreat. And then,
mhm.
new sprouts come up in spring. That's like, or the seasons of our inner world, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Nature is without a doubt our greatest teacher.
Mhm.
And you may not be aware of this, but I wrote a book
Mm.
called Nature's Wisdom: Life Lessons from Mother Earth, soon to be available as an ebook. But yeah, the first part of the book is my journey from corporate burnout. You know, the night I woke up screaming
Mm.
and asked the universe for help, and 3 golden orbs appeared,
Mhm.
to my journey of what I do now and who
Mhm.
I am now, and how nature was the golden thread
Mm.
through all of that. And then the second half of the book are all the spiritual life lessons that I've received from nature that teach us how to love ourselves, each other, and come home to our truth.
Well, my final question is always the same, and that is, when do you feel most divine?
When do I feel most divine? When I'm speaking about it.
Wonderful. You're spreading the message. Well, thank you so much, Jen, for today. It was an honor to talk to you with.
Oh, thank you so much. It's been, my absolute pleasure to be here. Thank you.